Hi, and welcome to the 10 square metre workshop. Today I'm going to be continuing on my Napoleonic cannon. The Gribeauval design system cannon was actually quite sophisticated in terms of its elevation, the bit that moves the barrel up and down. No wedge for this, it was a screw system, quite advanced for its day. So let's get started. The barrel lift plate starts out as a piece of 6mm oak. A bit of work with scroll saw and sandpaper brings it to this shape. There are a number of pieces of steel furniture that need to go along with this piece that have to be shaped and formed. And here they are, bent, shaped, drilled and ready to attach. But not before the wood was stained and the steel blued. And so that's another sub-assembly complete. I'm going to make the actual lifting gear out of brass, because I believe the original was cast bronze. I may be wrong about that, but this is what I'm going to use. I first turned it down to 10mm. Mounting the collet in the mill, so I can rotate it 90 degrees each time, I first establish a flat on the one side. I then use the edge finder to find the centre and the end. That allows me to centre drill on the centre of both axes. I then drill through 4.2mm. Which is a tapping size for 5mm, which I do using a tap follower. And then side mill both sides to reduce the width before flipping at 180 and surfacing the other side. Back in the lathe now, I can now reduce the two ends to the correct diameter. And this is the result. Now I'm sure there's people who'd machine the whole thing, but I'm not a purist, so I shall finish it off with a file. Here it is straight from the lathe, parted off after a small bearing surface was put on each end. And with the corners softened with a file and emery. I turned a piece of 8mm brass down to 5mm and then threaded it in the lathe. Then it's back in the collet block in the mill. I want to cross drill the top of this to take the handle arms. After centre drilling, I will drill it through 2mm. After turning the collet block through 90 degrees, it's centre drilling time again. And drill through again. I now have 4 holes at 90 degrees to each other. With the top rounded into a bowl shape, the two parts now look like this. Some time on the lathe, with this 1/8 inch brass rod, produced 4 little handles, which fit into the previously drilled holes. A touch of braze will hold these in. Something this small brazes very quickly. I've shown brazing before, so I didn't show it this time. It does, however, require quite a lot of cleaning up afterwards. Cleaned up, and with the downward tilt of the handles put in, I now have this. To make the mounting brackets involves a bit of an experiment. I've got a 5mm and a 3mm bolt through this piece of 2mm steel. the 5mm to hold it in the chuck, and the 3mm to prevent rotation. Let's see how this goes. So the mounting bolt was turned to the desired hub diameter, and the thickness of the material reduced by 1.25mm, leaving 0.75 behind. Removed from the bolts and it looks like this. Trimmed and cleaned up, it looks like this. The lifting gear shaft fits into one of these at each end. Just got to make the second now. I shall be making the bolts out of these 16 gauge nails. Thread 1.6mm, and with the heads filed square I have my 4 bolts. Now the nuts. I start the nuts by centre drilling a steel bar. Then drilled out 1mm, then 1.2, before hand tapping 1.6mm. Then in the mill in a collet to machine it square. Having milled all 4 sides, it's now 3.5mm square. And then back in the lathe for very careful parting off. After these, the 2mm ones will seem easy. And the nuts are made. The washers were a fairly simple turning job. And yes, they were that big, more of a mounting pad than a washer. And here's all the parts cleaned up in the white, as it were. And here they are after the bluing and patina stage. I much prefer them this way. What do you think? Better like this? Put a comment below. Well, that's another important subsystem for the Canon made. More next time. Bye for now.